Hello, Army of Light, Earth Division, the boots on the ground. It's Shawna L. Francis, and today is June 14th, 2023. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me for today's weekly briefing. You're not going to believe this, but I recorded this entire 30-minute video without having the on button for my microphone, so I have to start over. It's 1:30 in the morning, and I have to re-record this video. Oh, I'd rather just do it. It's all fresh in my mind. I will never do that again, right? I'll just make that mistake one time. I'm so glad that you're here, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. Thanks for all your support, your subscriptions to this channel, all your love, all your comments. You guys are the best. I do want to, before we get started, I want to let everybody know that, well, I'm actually asking for prayers for Mark Simpson. So he's an Army of Light member, and he comments on just about every video I put out. Big part of our group here. Mark had a health emergency here a couple of days ago, was life flighted via helicopter to the hospital. He spent the night in ICU. As of today, he's better. He's out of ICU, but not quite out of the woods. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to send Mark Simpson some love here, some healing. Wishing you an absolute speedy recovery, Mark, and we love you. All right. This week, Melchizedek, pretty quiet again. I got quite a bit of information here. Well, I'm going to say yesterday, but it was like today, earlier yesterday. Got a lot of information from, not a lot, but some information and a brief update from them on Saturday. But really, I've been, again, kind of flying solo, really deep into these books, though, and really learning a lot. And Melchizedek has asked me to share with you what I'm learning. So I put together a bit of an outline, negative reptilian history. I'd really just gotten so excited with what I was reading this week because it was validating and confirming a lot of what I had been channeling about the negative reptilians, especially the early stuff with like Lemuria. So it was just like, oh my gosh, this is the only other time I've heard anybody speak like this about the history of the reptilians. Not everything is in complete alignment, but there was a lot. And, also just it's it just was feeling so unreal, overwhelming, the history here, the breadth, the depth of the subjugation here, not only on Earth, but in other realms, other planets, other star systems. It's just really so much going on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get into this. So Saturday was really the first day that Melchizedek actually came forward with a little bit of information. And I was really kind of feeling disconnected, and I was really hoping somebody would come through. So I hear, Shawna, hello, it's Melchizedek. I said, hello, guys, how are you? They said, we are well, Shawna, and you? I said, I'm doing great. I said, what's going on with this team? And they said, well, to be quite honest, Shawna, it's been a bit of a debacle. I said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. They said, yes, we are too. They said, we are quite preoccupied with so many moving pieces, coordination, timeline adjustments, fallout from the timeline adjustments. It is requiring much of our focus, dear Shawna. I remember a couple weeks ago, I was personally involved in some of these timeline adjustments. So there must be a lot going on here. Not a whole lot that I understand, but fallout from other timeline adjustments. I can only imagine what that would be like. And they continued here. They said, we are so very sorry for our absence in your day-to-day routine, but know, dear one, that we've been with you every day, loving you, supporting you, guiding you, and monitoring your frequency. You are doing well, and we thank you so much for being able to keep the momentum going even without our day-to-day messages and input. I said, thank you so much, team. I said, thank you for coming through. I said, I've got to make a video in a few days. Do you have any information you want to bring through for the collective? or anything for me to know. And they said, thank you, Shawna. We ask that you all please continue to make time for us for the work each day as you have been. And as soon as we are free to come back and continue our conversations, we shall do so. We appreciate your patience and your willingness to stick with this, as they say, while we take care of these other priorities. I said, all right. Yeah. So again, like pretty quiet with these guys. Sounds like it's a bit of a mess. So switching gears here to today, which is actually yesterday, I did do a full 3-hour meditation, and kind of as they'd kind of stepped back a little bit, I was slacking quite a bit on my meditations this week, just doing an hour and a half or 2 hours. But getting in my exercise each day and trying to be focused at least on that. And I had just said, hey team, how's it going today? And it was like 2.5 hours in and I hadn't heard from them. And I was going to wrap it up at 3 hours. And they did. They finally came in. I said, is there anything that you can explain that I'd understand? Anything I can bring to the team? And I said, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'd really love to just do a brief connection today. And they said, yes, that's quite all right. Thank you again so much for your patience as we work through these pending issues in the field and beyond. There's no easy way for us to explain to you what has been going on these last 2 weeks. So apologies up front for that message. As you have been diving deeper and deeper into the details of the negative reptilian stronghold on Earth and on many other planets, we understand that you are feeling quite exasperated and a bit overwhelmed with what you're learning. Yeah, guys, I'm going to get into this here a little bit. They said, this is natural, dear one. We are thankful for your bravery to delve into a topic like this and to have an open mind and an open heart and to be walking this path. So again, last week I'd done this whole told you about Secret Journey to Planet Circle. This was fascinating. This was really good. This is Len Kasten is the author here. He's written several books. So I've picked up his latest. Well, I've picked up the next book, written in 2017, called the. Oh, let me just pull it up here on my Kindle real quick, and I can show you what this looks like. Alien World Order: The Reptilian Plan to Divide and Conquer the Human Race. Len Kasten, 2017. I was just freaking out listening to this book this week. They said, here I'll continue with what Melchizedek was saying. They said, this path is not for the faint of heart, and there are many who are now feeling ready to learn more of the details of this subjugation. These are more, lock and key moments, Shawna. Please tell your constituents what it is you've been learning this past week. Just do your best to explain and summarize the information you feel is pertinent, and we will be back with you as soon as we are able. Okay. So what I've done is I've summarized a bit of this alien world, the new alien world order. So again, I've just gotten basically through the first few chapters. I'm going to summarize what was said in the introduction per Melchizedek's request. Let me just wrap up with the rest of what Melchizedek had to say today. I said, thank you so much, team, for this. What about the Galactic War? What's going on? They said, Shawna, this war continues to rage on. We are not getting too involved with this fighting. We monitor it from afar. We still believe that this war is ending its cycle. We are in the final throes of this particular war, and we shall all be one step closer to the liberation and reclamation of planet Earth. I said, okay. I said, that's good news. I said, do you have any advice for the collective here, the constituents? At this time, any recommendations? Thank you. And they said, Shawna, we continue to make efforts to connect on an individual basis with those who have asked as part of the collective. Know that we love you beyond your comprehension. Know that we see you. Know that we know you. And that we cradle thee in the bosom of light, now and for all of eternity. That's kind of a sweet thing to say. All right. So I just took a little bit of time today. Again, you know, what's really fascinating, all the disclosure happening recently, all the whistleblowing, it seems to me that we are on this precipice and just going to have just a flooding of more disclosure happening, soft disclosure, hard disclosure, more evidence coming through. Look at NASA. You know, again, it's like that metallic sphere. It looks like a BB, you know, flying over that base. And, you know, they're just saying, we don't know what this is. Well, you know, at least they're releasing some video. We'll see. Seems official. You know, we've got other whistleblowers coming through and talking about how it is illegal to be keeping this kind of proof and information from Congress. There was one of our Army of Light members, Bruce, sent me a short video on a new whistleblower that's coming forward with knowledge of all this incredible technology in Antarctica, green lasers and pulse type weaponry and this kind of thing. And he went down there to be a firefighter and came across all this stuff, came back, and that was in 2010, came back and has put together a website and is trying to get this information out. So I feel like we're going to just get we're going to be having a lot more disclosure coming forward. This is good. All right, so Len Kasten in his new Alien World Order book. What was really cool about the introduction here is he's talking about things that I had channeled and not read in any other book or seen in any other video, like Lemuria and the negative reptilians being on Lemuria. So he goes into detail about a lot of that. You know, and confirmed a lot of things that we kind of all know about. I mean, maybe a lot of you have already read this book. I know a lot of you are already kind of deep into this reptilian information, a lot more so than myself. You know, and I'm kind of thinking about some of the things I've brought through. It's kind of like Reptilians 101 or Reptilians for Dummies, whereas this book seems to be going really deep, like a college textbook, if I had to compare the two. So it's really nice, if not completely also just horrifying, to get the extra detail. And I'm not exactly sure of all the sources that he's citing here, but as I get into this book, I think I'm going to, you know, hopefully he'll come forward with where is he getting all of his information. All right. According to Len's book here, he says that reptilians were around on Earth at the same time as dinosaurs, and also that the reptilian used the dinosaurs as a food source. So before humans, as we know them, were on planet Earth, the reptilians were here running around with the dinosaurs and eating the dinosaurs. So that's, you know, it's not in alignment exactly with what Melchizedek had told us, whereby the dinosaurs came and went, and the creator beings took all the key learnings from the DNA and from the creation of the dinosaurs to create the reptilian humanoids and to seed planet Earth with those humanoids. So a little bit different. Len Kasten here, he talks about these early reptilians being from the Draco star system. So he doesn't go into enough detail where I could tell you whether or not they arrived on ships according to his book, or if they were seeded here by the Dracos. But he thinks that they were here about 1 million years ago is all. And he thinks it's possible that the dinosaurs were here only a scant 1 million years ago, whereas you look at the Jurassic period and that ended 65 million years ago. So Len Kasten here in this book is questioning whether or not the carbon dating that we have is actually accurate. So just something interesting there. He also talks about the Dracos attacking and enslaving the inhabitants of 21 planets in this sector of the galaxy. And then at that point, they turned their attention to the Lyra star constellation. Lyra, I mean, the Lyrans here are a big part of our story. It's a big part of the human history, right? Um, Len Kasten in his book calls all the Lyrans humans. Um, and these Lyrans had a very peaceful, flourishing civilization on many different planets until the Reptilians came along and just wreaked havoc on Lyra. On the Lyrans, according to this book, 50 million Lyrans were killed and 3 whole planets were completely annihilated. And this sent the Lyrans kind of fleeing to all over the galaxy here. Um, Arcturus, Antares, the Pleiades, Andromeda, and others, according to the book. So, and it was the Lyrans, according to Len Kasten here in this book, who formed the Galactic Federation of Light. And it did seem to be in direct, you know, a direct answer to the negative reptilians really wreaking havoc on this sector of the universe here. So the Galactic Federation of Light. So it was really cool to kind of see this version of what may have been the inception of the Galactic Federation of Light, really focused on repelling and defending against negative reptilians and their invasions. Let's see here. The Lyrans who fled that star system also came to Mars and Maldek. And Maldek, if you've not heard of this planet before, was a super planet near Jupiter that was destroyed by the negative reptilians and created our asteroid belt here in our solar system. And in the destruction of the Maldek planet, that stripped Mars of all of its atmosphere, and basically everybody who was on that planet of the light had to go underground. I couldn't tell you if there's still civilizations underground on Mars or not. I'm not that far into the book, but very interesting stuff. Then he kind of talks about Lemuria and how the reptilians really colonized Lemuria, which he said was in the Pacific Ocean. The Lyrans had a Pleiadian contingency come and establish Atlantis, the big continent that was in the Atlantic Ocean, at least according to this book. I've also read that Atlantis could have been in Antarctica back in the day before it was covered in ice. So who really knows? So everything kind of goes on a shelf and we get all this information. We'll kind of figure it out as we go. According to this book, it was the inhabitants of Atlantis fighting the negative reptilians on Lemuria who destroyed Lemuria. It was the Atlanteans. I'm going to call them Atlanteans. I'm not sure if that's the right term for them. Using electromagnetic pulse weapons. Yikes. Okay, so the Atlanteans brought down Lemuria, trying to get rid of the negative reptilians. Well, the negative reptilians, they were not destroyed. They fled underground, a lot of them, to India, to Tibet of all places, and to Antarctica. Those were the main areas that they inhabited after Lemuria went down. And, he kind of went into some of the details here in India, how there are, in their folklore, they speak about these underground reptilians, the Nagas, or the serpent peoples. I mean, really, there's lots of evidence. If you watch any of the ancient alien stuff on the History Channel, there's all kinds of ancient ruins, scriptures, all kinds of things that refer to these underground serpents, dragons, Middle Earth type beings. Anyway, so according to this book, this is where they went after Lemuria was destroyed. All right, so the reptilians built themselves back up, decided to infiltrate Atlantis. Infiltrate by shape-shifting, going in, acting as though they are them. They started interbreeding with the Atlanteans. It was a full-on hybridization program and infiltration, kind of coming in from the inside, finding the power structures, weakening it from the inside. And this is what they did. This is what they supposedly did, according to this book, to Atlantis. They came into Atlantis and they destroyed it from the inside out. And in this book, he also talks about how the Nazis, again, knowing that they're hive mind humans, or at least fully under control of the negative reptilians here, they did the same thing when trying to conquer Europe, infiltrating current power systems, going in under the radar. So you attack from the outside, but you're also attacking from the inside. And that's exactly what they're doing with humanity on Earth today, right? Okay. According to this book, it was the Atlanteans trying to destroy inner Earth reptilians that they ended up destroying a lot of their own continent doing this. But the final straw came when the negative reptilians used some kind of super bomb, super weapon that shifted the poles on the planet when it detonated. And that caused Atlantis to freeze or to sink into the, I think he said the rest of Atlantis froze solid. Everybody died. Antarctica, which was once tropical and lush and green, became covered in ice almost overnight. And he did mention that a lot of the folks from Atlantis, having been tipped off by their prophets, they saw this coming. They fled to current day Egypt, the Mediterranean, and Central and South America. Yeah, so seated with the Atlanteans, folks from Atlantis. And this author says that because of the Galactic Federation of Light's presence in this area, the negative reptilians have not done any more kind of outward attacks on humanity. It's all been the underground subjugation under the radar. We've talked about all this. All right. Another little tidbit of information that this author talks about, coming out of the fall of Atlantis, a council convened in the Andromeda star system and decided to seed Earth with a new human created from 12 different human races, as well as the reptilian race. And this was 40,000 years ago. So I don't quite understand why they would have added reptilian DNA into these new humans. Maybe it was a show of unity or peace or what have you. But I think, this book's going to explain more of the fallout of that decision because now we've got humans on Earth that, have the bloodlines. Maybe this is where the monarchy comes out of. Some of these big, powerful bloodlines have the DNA of reptilians, and maybe that was on purpose back in the day. So I don't quite know. Maybe some of you do know or have heard. All right, so the reptilians kind of remained underground as these new humans, as all of us evolved. And again, a lot of us have heard this before. Humanity as we know it is a grand experiment in consciousness, and we are carefully watched and guided until we reach a point of evolution whereby we take our place in the Galactic Human Alliance. Now I'm paranoid. I want to make sure this thing is on. And of course, this time is now. The author hasn't yet used the word ascension. He hasn't really talked about going to 5D, but he's talking about the evolution in consciousness that's happening. And of course, this time is now. This is where we're at. This is the point that we're at. He kind of goes into just recapping what's going on with the blood rituals, the drinking of the blood, the eating of the human flesh, the child rituals, all the horrifying stuff we've learned about in the last year and prior to that. But really a lot of consistencies with my channeling, bringing all this together. Again, it's just it's just awful to read. He also goes into some detail about a particular man who's gone in and done a bunch of investigation on missing people from our national parks in the United States, and how there's been tens of thousands of cases, maybe don't quote me on that, but thousands of cases at least of abductions or missing people, and it's all very similar in how that happens. And then he also talks about how interesting it is that he gets such like a similar pushback from all these park rangers and all these folks, as part of our park systems, whenever this investigator would go to ask about missing persons, he'd get a similar answer and a similar pushback. And I just have to think, well, this sounds like hive mind human, or, under the manipulation of the negative reptilians here. I liked how Len Kasten said this. He says that we are in a take no prisoners battle for the control of our solar system, and that this is an emblematic struggle that has the attention of many ETs from throughout the galaxy, because this is the first time that this new human race has dared to confront the ancient and all-powerful reptilian empire. Yeah, this is what was having me feeling so overwhelmed this week. It's like, oh man, yeah, it's like, I mean, they've told us this has never been attempted before. Not only, going from 3D to 5D while we are still in embodiment, but taking on the negative reptilians in this way, as a force. It's just it's incredible what we're doing. You know, it really is. It's just it's mind-boggling. This author also went on to say that, he says that we are currently in what he called a stalemate, which I don't agree with that. A stalemate as humanity expands its consciousness and begins to understand how it has been hypnotized, duped, and enslaved, and begins to employ its higher spiritual powers to defeat an enemy that cannot reach into the higher dimensions for help, nor can they occupy it. So I wouldn't necessarily call this a stalemate. I think there's a lot going on. There's a ton going on, right? We've got the frequency raising on the planet here. We have our consciousness raising as well, in tandem with the new frequencies coming onto the planet. We have all this help from our galactic friends, the angelic realm, the ascended masters, folks like Melchizedek, and in the meantime, you've got the negative reptilians ratcheting up all their rhetoric, their control mechanisms, coming out feeling very desperate to maintain control, and even through this galactic battle that's happening. So certainly wouldn't call this a stalemate. Maybe in 2017, that's what it felt like, but it feels very active to me. All right, so that's really everything I wanted to talk about in terms of this Alien World book. Again, if you want to join the Shawna book club and check that book out, I've ordered a hard copy of it so I can just read it in more detail and highlight some things and kind of get to know what this author is having to say. I've actually tried to reach out to Len Kasten. I can't figure it out. Like his website that was mentioned in this book here, et-secrethistory.org.com.net, none of that's available anymore. It gives like an error. Same with serpo.org, which seemed to have been the website that this book was mainly based around. I can't, that site seems to be down too. So it's really bizarre. I'm going to do a little bit more looking into this, but in the age of censorship, maybe these guys were threatened. I mean, who knows? I don't want to make any guesses there, but know that I'm trying to reach out to Len Kasten. I'd really love to connect with him and, cross some T's and dot some I's and compare some notes, and, see what the guy has to say. So if anybody knows how to reach Len Kasten, please let me know. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap this up for the second time tonight. I hope everybody's doing well. Again, Mark Simpson, we wish you a speedy, speedy recovery. We love you. I love each of you too as well. I hope you're doing well. I will see you in a week, if not sooner. Take care, everybody. Mwah.